This is a bit of a time to introduce yourself, tell us why you're running for school board, and describe why you believe you're qualified for this position.
Well, my name is Linda Kaps, and I'm running for school board because I believe that if you want to solve problems, you've got to be a part of that equation. And I like to solve problems. I'm qualified because I have a very vast background in education. I started by teaching 7th and 8th grade, and from there I have a BA in English with an emphasis in creative writing and literature, and a secondary teaching certificate that includes English language arts and theater. So from 7th and 8th grade I went on to Flathead High School, and I was a paraeducator there. I worked in special ed in wood shop and metal shop and home ec. And from there I went to substitute teaching, and then I got my teaching job at Columbia Falls High School, where I was an educator in English language arts for 34 years. And then I went into counseling, got my master's degree in counseling from the University of West Alabama, my national board certification in adolescent literature. And so I administered ACT testing, AP testing. I have experience with Title IX, 504s, IEPs. I have seen every aspect of education that a person can see. I've participated, I've been involved right in the trenches, and I think that allows me a dual perspective. I have the perspective as that person who's worked in education. I also have the perspective of being an alum from Flathead High School, the perspective of a parent of a student who went to Flathead High School, and a grandchild who attended Flathead High School. So with all of that combined, and I'm going to add, I'm also the founding member of Sparrow's Nest, and I'm the board chair for Sparrow's Nest of Northwest Montana. All this passion for teenagers, I think I bring to the board a really broad experience and a deep background.
So there has been a lot of recent news about the budget struggles of schools in the Flathead. If elected to the school board, what is your plan to address this issue?
Budgets are always an issue when it comes to education. But the fact of the matter is, I think a lot of people don't understand how mill levies work and why they're always being constantly, they feel, asked to pass a mill levy. It works like this. The state pays for 80% of the budget. That leaves 20% every year for the schools to come up with. Now that 80% that the state is paying for is the very basics that we need. The state expects the counties every year to come up with that additional 20%. And they typically would like schools to run levies every year, but most schools don't do that. People don't want to pay for a levy year. But as a result of not doing that, the levies increase. The need for more additional money increases year after year. So if you wait 3 years, you've got 3 years of accumulated budget expenditure. If people understood that basic formula, I think they'd be more willing to consider voting for a levy. Right now, the Kalispell public school system, their last levy that was passed was in 2007. That's 17 years ago, and I don't think if people understood the need for this 20% each and every year that the state expects the schools to pay for, that they would be so reluctant to pass a mill levy. Another thing that people have to understand is that we have 13 elementary feeder schools that go into the Kalispell public school system. 13. Parents don't have a problem passing an elementary budget, but when their kids are in elementary school, they're saying to themselves, well, why should I pay for the high school meal levy when my kids aren't there? Well, they should pay for it because their kids are going to be there. And we have to be thinking toward the future. We have to have programs that we can build and expand upon for the day that their student as an 8th grader then walks in as a freshman to one of the high schools in the Kalispell public schools. Another thing that I think people need to consider is that there's been a building frenzy in the Flathead Valley, and that means that our tax base has increased across the board. More houses, more people paying for their taxes as they sit in their new homes. That means a less dollar cost to the taxpayer, or perhaps none at all. And the last thing I think people need to understand is that not all levies mean that there will be a tax increase. A technology level, for example, is simply a renewal that expires every 10 years, and people are asked to renew. That does not increase their tax amount. Unfortunately, with very few opportunities for the public to voice their opinions about how their tax dollars are spent, schools are often the place they say enough is enough, and unfortunately, our students suffer.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing Kalispell schools, and how do you plan to address this challenge?
I believe the biggest challenge facing Kalispell Public Schools is remembering that we are here to ensure the best education possible for each and every student. That means our decisions are not politically motivated, but rather driven by best practices and what is best for our students. Coming together as a team with the vision and mission statements in mind, and coming together as a team with a strategic plan in mind will help to move towards success. We also need to be accountable for those mission, vision, and strategic plans. We need to be accountable, and we need to make sure that we're making progress on the goals that have been set. Again, financial consideration drives programs, and without money, we'll struggle to meet those needs.
How will you ensure that students' voices, experiences, and values are elevated to the school board when making decisions?
I believe the best way we could make sure that student voices are heard are to include them in the discussions. My idea, and I don't know if this is happening currently, but would be to have a panel of students that represent the whole entire different culture of our student population at the school board meetings to offer their opinions about the matters at hand. By feeling heard, the students they'll feel more a part of the whole school district. Feeling heard makes them feel important. It makes them be a part of something. My own passion for working with teens, as well as my background and extensive experience as an educator and a counselor, will also serve me well as I speak for them and help the board with decisions regarding policy, curriculum, whatever is at hand.
Flathead Pace Academy, Personalized Academic Career Exploration, and Rising Wolf Charter School are two charter school programs coming to the Flathead. Do you think that these programs will be a positive addition to the opportunities for students? If not, why not? And if so, why?
I absolutely believe that these new programs will only enhance educational opportunity. Education has been a one-size-fits-all for far too long. Neurodiversity, trauma, disabilities, skill set, academia, to name a few, drive a curriculum that is no longer the education we all grew up with. We must branch out in order to achieve the district's mission and vision statement, as well as their strategic plan, especially Goal 3, which is challenging and diverse learning environment. I'm thrilled to be a part of this new opportunity from the ground up.
Do you view student mental health and well-being as a major issue for the trustees to address? If not, why not? And if so, how do you plan to address this issue?
Student mental health and well-being is a major issue. for many, many, many of our students. We can't ignore the data, and like food and shelter, it is a necessary basic need. So if we're not considering the mental health of our students, their basic needs are not being met. And I feel like to address this issue, being proactive regarding mental health will get us a lot further, a lot faster than being reactive. And one of the ways I think we can be proactive with our students is to start teaching them resilience at a very early age. If a student is not resilient, they're not handing in their homework. They're not getting up to go to school. They're not able to overcome their anxiety of being in a classroom. Resilience is a really strong building block, and it's just one thing we can do to help ensure our students' mental health well-being. We have to teach our students how to work through things rather than to avoid them. It's very difficult to find a therapist in the Flathead Valley right now. Many don't take insurance, and a lot of our people are trying to get help for their kids and they're unable to. And I think that's also a niche that we need to fill in the schools. If we want them to be successful as students, they have to be whole, well-rounded, flourishing young people, and mental health is a part of that. Okay.
So the first fun question is, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
My favorite ice cream flavor is vanilla bean blue bunny. Bar none, the best pure vanilla ice cream. The best.
Next fun question is, what was your favorite spot to study as a student?
Interesting question, because as a high school student, I wasn't much of a studier. I had some undiagnosed learning disabilities, and although I wasn't a poor student, and although I wasn't lacking in cognitive ability, I was not a studier. Anywhere outside. If I could take a book outside and sit under a tree, that's where you would find me if the weather was permitting.
Next fun question is, what was your favorite subject in school?
In high school, my favorite subject was theater, and I did a lot of the plays at the high school level. In college, I was a theater major as well as a literature major, and reading was also a passion. So any literature class, whether it was Shakespeare or poetry or whatever, I was pretty content.
So the next fun question is, did you play a musical instrument, and if so, do you still play?
I didn't play a musical instrument. I regret that I don't play a musical instrument. I have difficulty reading music as a result of a learning disability, and it's just one thing I've always wished I would have been forced to do and stick with. So no musical instrument for me.
All right, this is just time for your closing remarks, if you have any.
Closing remarks. I want people to know that I am passionate about teenagers and their well-being and their education. I devoted 41 years of my life in pursuit of this, and I think my diverse background in education, my growing up in this community, graduating from Flathead, having my own children attend Flathead High School, will help me to be a very well-rounded, earnest board member. But as I understand it, I'm running unopposed, and with that comes no vote or no ballot. So as I enter office, I will probably set up a Facebook page so that people will find out more information about who I am and anything else that I might need to post regarding what's going on with board meetings and what's going on with me. I hope to serve the board in a very diligent manner, and I hope to serve the people of the Kalispell Public School System well. Thank you.